El Señor es mi bastión, mi baluarte y salvación, es mi Dios, es mi Dios, mi escudo y defensor, Salvador que libra hoy, es mi Dios, es mi Dios. El Señor me premia por mi conducta y mi valor, es mi Dios, es mi Dios. Te alabaré, Señor, te alabaré, Señor.
Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the David Trig Show, Trig Podcast of Joy, and the GOZOtv. How are you guys in this beautiful morning? Talking about a very, very important topic that I think is crucial for everyone and anyone, and that is the topic of how do you learn to love yourself? How do you learn as a human being to love yourself and to not put yourself down so much? When I was out last night with some friends, we were catching a movie and we were talking about how in the mall, we were at the mall and, the movie theater there, how everyone loves themselves, right? How easy it is to see how people just love themselves so much, that just what they wear and what they shop for. And then one of my friends said, well, actually, she said, I find that a lot of my friends don't love themselves. And it got me thinking about that maybe reality of how many people actually don't love themselves. And even though maybe you feel like you love yourself, you don't always do that, right? And so it got me thinking, but I wanted first, before I get into the show and into some tips I want to give you, make sure that you leave me a comment below. Just type in hello, good morning. As I always say, it helps the Facebook game, as I call it, or the algorithm to actually show this video to more people. When you type in a comment, actually say good morning, hello, buenos dias, I'm hungry, I need to go to work, I'm busy, I'm stressed, whatever, then Facebook wakes up and it says, hey, there are people not just watching, you know how you see a number up there, a 1 or a 2 or a 22, but instead of just seeing that number up there, Facebook actually considers something worth showing if there are comments below. So get out your thumbs. If you have access to your phone, if you're able to type, and just put a hello, a good morning, a how are you, because it helps the Facebook algorithm when you actually comment below. So it helps me a lot. And most of all, it helps this video to get out to more people. When you just say good morning, hello, what's up, I'm doing good, just type a comment, because it helps the Facebook algorithm. And like I say, we beat Facebook at its own game. The Facebook algorithm, I've been studying this for months. It only triggers videos that have comments below, such as good morning, hello, how are you? When you just watch, basically Facebook ignores these videos. And that's why you only see a 1 or a 0 or a 2 up there. But if you actually say hello or you comment, then and actually type words, then of course they get all excited and they think, hey, this is worth showing to the world. And so they do that. So if you would help me out and type in a comment there below so we can get this out to everybody. Exactly. And hopefully my sister will also bring all her friends. So sister, you got to let all your friends know, okay? So we can have them type a comment as well. But loving yourself, right? I want to read a verse for you. I also have a second camera here I want to say hello to. Hello. This is my second camera that I use for this. And so I want to actually show you a couple of things that, a verse, of course, that is really good and useful and important, I think, especially for these seasons, I guess, or these times of the year, or when you feel a little bit discouraged. So I want to get to this here really quick. So here it is. Yes. Okay. Thank you, Bart. The sound. Thank you, sis. Yes. Now you can hear me, right? Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for that. That is awesome. Thank you so much, guys, for the sound. A setting there was off. So, so as you know the story, right? We're talking about how do you love yourself. You're tuning in late. How do you love yourself? And so the one who had the one talent, as you know the story, he came forward and he said, Master, I knew you would be mad. I knew that you didn't want to reap where you did not sow and gathered what you did not, where you did not scatter seed. So I was afraid and I went and hid your talent in the ground. And here you go. Here's what I have found. Yeah, thank you, sis. So here's what I have that is yours. And so his master replied, You wicked and lazy slave. He called him lazy, right? You knew, did you, that I reap what I did not sow, and I gather what I did not scatter. So you ought to have invested my money with the bankers, and in my return I would have received what was my own with interest. So take the talent from him and give it to the one with the 10 talents. For to all those who have, more will be given, and they will have an abundance. But from those who have nothing, even what they have will be taken away. As for this worthless slave, the one who buried everything, throw him into the outer darkness where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So my guess is that you know the story really well, right? You've heard this a million times. And so the story is very important. Sorry about that. The story is really important because it describes issues of self-worth. The story, of course, in its essence, it's talking about what to do with what God's given you, right? But I want to take a little different approach with this passage and talk more about self-worth and self-love. Because what I have found that is a huge problem is that people don't value themselves. They don't love themselves. As I said at the beginning of the show, I was talking to some friends, and my friend was telling me, well, I don't really think that people love themselves. And so it got me thinking about that. People just don't love themselves. They don't value who they are. They don't know how to feel like they are worth loving or worth sometimes even living, right? I mean, I meet a ton of young people, teens, 20s, and of course beyond, that don't want to live because they don't value themselves. And so how can we learn to love ourselves? So I have a few tips. I want to give you 5 tips. Number 1 is we all have value and worth. All of us, regardless of our emotions or comparisons, we all have self-worth. We all have love. We all are loved, not just by God, of course by God, but also we have all received certain talents. And that's the first thing that I see in this story. Everyone received a talent. The story starts with the fact that everyone in that scene or in that story had received something from the master. And I want to start with that because I feel like a lot of times people just think, I don't have anything, any talent. I don't have any skill. And I want to do something or say something. This is not about skill because, of course, you may not be able to do what other people do. And we'll talk about comparison here in a second. But the point isn't even that you have a skill. Of course you do. But the point is that no matter who you are worthy of your life. I have many friends, as I said, that I counsel, they're clients of mine, some that are from my church, but some are just people that I see outside the church. As you know, I'm a certified anxiety coach. And so I see clients, they're paid customers that I see. And so they meet with me one-on-one or on the phone or whatever through Skype. And I have many of these, some of them are very young in their teens, 20s, some of them are older, that deal with a lot of issues with self-worth. And I also have other people that I just know as acquaintances that have lost a son or a daughter to suicide. And I'm not a suicide prevention coach. I do not know that. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a counselor. So if you do have suicidal tendencies, of course, you need to see a professional medical and a mental health professional. But what I do know is, and like you, is that suicide and depression and the things that go along with that are realities. There are common things that people deal with all the time. And so the notion of everyone knows that they are worthy is really not as common as you think. As my friend was saying in the car last night, she's saying a lot of my friends, and she's a high schooler, they don't love themselves. And so that's why I want to start with the fact that every one of us, this is what this passage teaches us. Every one of us has received something. It may not be a skill that you want, but it may be just your personality. It may be where you were born. It may be that you were born and raised in this country. Do you know, especially being someone from another place, what a wonderful, hello Lisa, thank you for your comment. Do you know how important it is to know, or if you are a U.S. citizen, you're born in this country, or if you're a legal resident, whatever, right? How valuable that is. Now, if you live somewhere else, do you know how valuable it is? Like I know, obviously for my sister, that you speak English or that you are bilingual. Let's say you are a white person. Do you know how valuable it is that you are a person that's not of color because of some of the problems and bigotry and racism and all that stuff, right? And again, you may think, oh, well, that's nothing. But the point is that every one of us has received something, even though you may not value it. It's something important. So I want you to think about, here's a practical tip. Practically speaking, I want you to think about what is the 1 or maybe 2 or 3 things that you can type in the comments below that you feel that's valuable about you. Okay, so type in the comments below. Like I said, it helps the algorithm. It helps this show get viral. Type in the comments below, what is the thing, the 1, 2, 3, maybe you have 10 things. You're having one of those awesome days that you know is valuable about you. A skill, a personality quirk, You know, for me, I love 80s music. I love the fact that last time we were watching Star Wars, and I don't know if it was during the end of the movie or at some point they were playing the song Jump by Van Halen. And as an 80s kid, it was awesome to hear that song in the middle of the movie. And I thought, I'm so glad that when I was, whatever, 13, 15, that I grew up around Van Halen. That's something, right? And so the first thing of how can you love yourself, the first tip I want to give you is to write down in the comments below, what is one or two or three things that you are thankful for? Like I said, it could be a quirky thing, it could be where you live, it could be your name, the fact that you have a certain family name that you're proud of, whatever it is. Everyone, number one, has worth. Number two is jealousy kills joy. Jealousy is the killer of joy. Let's go back to this passage. So we're reading, if you're tuning in late, we're talking about how to love yourself and using the passage of the 5 talents that the master gave to 3 different people. To one, he gave 5, to one, he gave 2, to one, he gave 1. So number 1, we have 5 tips. We all have worth. Number 2 is jealousy kills joy. Now, in that passage, if I was the one who received only 1 gift, don't you think that it would be so teaching and singing? Awesome, exactly. So type in the comments below, everybody. What is 1 or 2 or 3 things that is just unique about you? Okay, number 2 is jealousy kills your life. It kills and destroys your life. So back to the passage. So imagine if the man who only received the 1, but maybe the reason, it doesn't say, but maybe the reason why he hid his talent and buried it, and basically he lost everything. Maybe the reason was because he kept comparing himself to the one he got to the one who got 2 talents, or the one who got the 5 special gifts. I mean, that would have killed him, right? He probably could have spent months. It doesn't really say how long the master was gone for, but let's say he was gone for a year. Imagine him spending a whole year mostly focused on the fact that he didn't get what the other person got. Jealousy destroys your impacting the world. Jealousy destroys joy. Comparison, envy, you thinking that you should have what that person has, it kills the soul. It does it to me, to everyone that I meet. The reason why so many times people are depressed or they get mad is because they are so jealous of somebody else, because of the Christianese, or because it's not morally appropriate to say that, because it's not the right thing to do or to say. We constantly hide our jealousy and envy from others because we live in this moral, Christian, religious type of cloud where we feel like we can't be honest with ourselves or with God or with people. Then we hide our jealousy. But many times, jealousy and envy is what kills our self-worth. And that's what this passage says. The 5 talents, the 2 talents, the 1 talent. I don't really like the word talent, because talent, especially in our day and age, in our modern day, it sounds like some sort of superpower. I simply like to call it values. You have 5 values, 2 values, 1 value. Everyone has value. Everyone has worth. Do some people have more value? Of course. Maybe in a certain area they might have more value, even though we are all equally valuable. But we all do different things, right? But jealousy, I want to give you 5 tips. How to love yourself more. Number 1 is to know that you have value. Number 2 is to stop the jealousy game. Number 3 is to realize that the only way to truly be happy is to accept your level of worth. To accept your level of value and of worth. Hello, Shelly, Dr. Shelly. Nice to have you here. Thank you so much for saying hello, for the comments. It helps tremendously, as I said, for the Facebook algorithm to get this video out there to more people. So thank you. So accept your level of of self-worth or your level of value. What I'm talking about is self-awareness. Now, let me say something. I worked with an Asian American church for many years. And what I learned about the Asian culture, especially I would say 90% of them were Chinese, and then, or maybe about 80%, and then 20% were Taiwanese, and then a few Koreans. So very, very amazing people, incredibly gifted. And it wasn't a stereotype, but many of them truly were men and young. They were all maybe average age, like 23, 24, young men and women who wanted to do great things in life. And I know all of us do, but you get my point, right? High achievers going to the best universities, a wonderful, wonderful group that I got to pastor for a few years. Now, one of the things that one of the most talented people told me was something that at first I really didn't even like. I thought she was wrong, but now I'm realizing that I was wrong. Here's what she said. Now, this is a young girl, let me say, she's married now, that at the time, well, she was our worship leader, master's degree in choral music from the University of Southern California. Beautiful young girl. Oh my goodness, when she would lead, the way she would play the piano, I was just, even though it was just worship music, it's pretty simple stuff, right? She just played marvelously. I was in awe. Not only was she, as I said, powerful, but she was educated. She was the choral director at a high school there in the area, USC grad, blah, blah, blah. But now here's what really shocked me. She said, Pastor Trig, when I was 18, I think at the time she was maybe 24, 25, she said, I wanted to be a famous worship leader like Chris Tomlin or whatever maybe Brooke Fraser or Lightwood. I forget her name now. The famous female worship leaders, right? She wanted to be like them. But then her mom told her, daughter, you will never be like her. You're just not good enough. You don't sing as good as her. You don't have the personality that she has. And basically, she discouraged her from being like the famous worship leaders that she wanted to be like. Now, in the American way, right? In the American worldview, that would be the worst thing you could tell someone, right? I myself thought, what a horrible thing to say to a teenager. But you know what? What she told me, at USC grad with a master's degree in choral music, she said, you know what, Pastor Trig, that saved my life. Because instead of trying to be a famous worship leader, I instead went and got my teaching credential. I got a master's degree from USC in choral music, not in worship leading superstar. I am leading worship still at my church, but my job, the way I make my living, and you know that in certain cultures, that is everything. I mean, I think for all of us, but certain cultures, that's everything, right? She said, instead, I did this, and now I'm teaching high school music, choral music, in the urban centers of Southern California. And she said, even though it's hard, and even though, I'd rather be a famous worship leader and record and be in front of 3,000 people every weekend, instead, I'm glad that she helped me figure out who I really am. And I'm telling you, it's taken me years to understand her point. Because I think, like most, we would say, oh, what a horrible thing. And I still think that maybe 80%, 90% of that mindset is pretty damaging. But what the mom did right is to teach her daughter how to be self-aware. And that's where I'm going with this. The way to love yourself, this is a number 3 tip, is to be self-aware. Let me give you another example that's personal. Okay, this is kind of fun. So last night, I went to the movies, came home. I was watching some Jimmy Fallon this morning. And then on there was Cardi B. I think that's her name, right? So the rapper, she's, I think, Dominican, and she's just blowing up and amazing. And I'm not a huge fan of all the language. But hey, she's everywhere. And so I thought, let me check out what's going on, right? Just kind of who she is and all her platinum stuff and triple platinum. Can you believe that? And I loved, obviously, her story, saying how she was a stripper, I guess, and all her friends would just laugh and say, you're never going to get out of this mess and this apartment where your hair is dirty and all this stuff, right? And now she's a multimillionaire. But here's my point. A little part of me thought, man, I could have done that. Not maybe the dressing, the way she dresses and all the language, but I thought, especially when I saw her sing in front of 10,000 people, I thought, man, I could do that. Now, the normal wisdom, and because we're all so nice to each other, would be to say, of course, Trig, you can do it. You can do anything. You know what? Here's reality. I don't have that kind of personality. I don't like being the center of attention. I've taken 1,000,001 personality tests, the MBTI and the Strengths Finders and the Dark Triad and all these Enneagram and all this stuff. And every time I take the test, it never says on there that I should be a rock star. And I know that some artists are depressed and they're more introverted. I mean, if not most of them, I know that many of them are. Here's my point. I'm not created to be like Cardi B. Is that how you say her name? Cardi B? I don't know. That's not who I am. For me to try to be like her would be crazy. Now, of course, be yourself, be yourself, be yourself. I get it, right? Be yourself. But the point is, if you want to learn how to love yourself, you have to stay in your own lane. As LeVar Ball says, stay in your lane. I'm not going to be like Cardi B. I'm not going to be like her because I am me. And so if you want to love yourself, you have to know, am I a 5-star person? I don't mean in the eyes of God. I just mean in terms of your skill set, the things that make you you. Are you a 2-star person or are you a 1-star person? There's no shame in my game to say, I'm an average basketball player, or I'm an average singer, or I'm a pretty good writer. There's no shame in saying, here's who I really am, especially as we get older. Because the more that you live in this dream world of you wanting to be like Beyonce and have her voice and have her beautiful hair and have her fame, or whatever comparison you are falling into, the more that you do that, the more depressed and the more alone and basically you're going to lack love for yourself. The worst you're going to feel. Stay in your lane. Know yourself. Just like in the parable. One had five stars. One had 2, one had 1. Isn't that the truth of life? Some people run faster than you. Some people sing higher. It's not about having no worth. Everyone, as I said, number 1, has worth. But we are differently gifted, as the Bible clearly says in 1 Corinthians 12, Romans 12, Ephesians 4, Ephesians, all the places. We all have different gifts. We all can't be the head. And I know for me, I have often lived in this dream world of wanting to be more than I really am. And I think part of that is good because it pushes you forward. It's pushed me. But I think part of that can be damaging because you don't accept who you are and you think it's all or nothing. Know yourself. So here's something practical. Type in the comments below, what area have you become more self-aware in? What's the area where you have become more self-aware? And you said, I don't need to be this that I thought was the only thing that would make me happy. I can just be this instead. And maybe I'm not at this level in this area, but I'm at this level and I'm okay with that because it makes me happy. Type in the comments below, what area have you finally accepted yourself in? Whether it's your education, where you live, how you are, your personality, maybe how much money you make, maybe just your education, as I said. Type an area below. Leave me a comment. In what area have you finally come to grips with who you really are? Okay, so that's number 3. I have 5 tips here. If you're tuning in late, 5 tips on how to truly love yourself. Number 4 is true success comes when you make more of what you have. True success comes when you make more of what you have. So back to the passage. Let me go back here to this passage, okay? So look at this. In this passage, it says very, very, very clearly, it says that the one, as you know, that got 5 talents, he then brought 5 more. The one who had 2 brought 2 more. But the one who had 1, what did he do? He buried it, he hid it, and basically he lost everything. So the fourth tip on how to actually be a person that knows how to love themselves is true success means to make more of what you already have. Make more of what you have. So for example, you have one thing. Guess what? 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 3. Make 3 of what you have. Let's say you've been given 5 somethings. 5 plus 5 plus 5 equals 15. Now, 15 is not the same as 3, right? 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3. 5 times 3 is 15. So 3 is not as much as 15, but it's multiplied. You've multiplied what you had. Now, what about the person who got 100 of something? 100 times 100 times plus 100, it's 300. So you have 3, you have 15, and you have 300. Are they all the same? Of course not. 3 is less than 15, is less than 300, and it's less than 5,000, etc. But the point is that true happiness comes when you multiply who you are and what you have. And that's what we see in this parable. Every one of these people, well, except for the last one, they multiplied what they had. They weren't comparing. They weren't keeping it to themselves. They weren't hiding it. They weren't just doing it. They weren't just keeping it. They weren't doing the same thing over and over again. They multiplied it. Regardless of age, regardless of where you're at in life, multiply yourself. Give more of yourself to people. Keep growing. Keep challenging yourself. Even if you're 60, 80, 90, 110, keep growing in your self-worth and also keep producing more. That's why I love being on here, giving you content. I could just be Christmas shopping or whatever, doing whatever else, but I'm here ministering to you, helping you. Even if I have one person, 0, it doesn't really matter because I am multiplying the little that I have. Maybe I have 1. I don't know if I'm at 100, like some people, they get on here and they have 3 million followers. I will never have that. And it would be silly for me to try to work super hard for the next 10 years to try to get 3 million views on these things. Instead, I may have 1, my sister. And guess what? What matters is that I'm multiplying myself instead of just keeping this knowledge or these simple words to myself. True joy and true love, self-love, comes when you multiply yourself. And the last tip is that true failure, you know what true failure is? Is when you hide from others. And that's what we see in this passage. These individuals, they hid, or the one, the last guy, he hid his talents from everyone else. He hid. He didn't want to hear it. He didn't want to do anything with his talents. He buried it, and then he got it taken away, and he was thrown out of the whole house. He lost everything. True failure is when you hide what you have. It's not that you don't have anything. It's not that you're not as good as somebody else. It's not that you don't have anything to offer. It's that you stopped giving it away. And so here's my question for you as I wrap up. What are you hiding from others? What is the thing that you're hiding from other people? Are you hiding your time? Are you hiding your financial maybe abilities? What are you hiding from other people? What is the skill or the mindset or the knowledge that you're hiding from other people? It could be that you are a very loving person, but you have become someone that hides your love from people. Are you hiding your love from your kids? Are you hiding your personality from your friends? True love, when you learn to love yourself, it comes when you multiply who you are on the inside. So let me close with a quick story. So there are about 5 or 6 young people at my church that they're all younger. They're maybe like 16, 18, 19, 20. They're like Rochelle calls it my youth group. And a month ago, we went out to get some food and saw a movie. And last night, one of them said, "Hey, Trig, why don't we go out and get some food?" And I thought, sure. And then I invited the rest of our friends, our little group. And so we all went out and got some food and watched a movie. It was great. Came home. Wonderful night. But when I first got that text of the first person who texted me, honestly, I was happy as could be here at home. I am a homebody. I am an INFJ. I like being home with my family and with my kids and being alone. I am happy as can be being alone. Anybody know what I'm talking about? There's my Gozo bell, right? Some of us just love being alone. I am one of them. I love being with people, definitely, but I also love being by myself. So when that text came in, I thought, man, I have a bunch of stuff to do tomorrow and then the weekend. You know how church is super busy. I'd rather be home, but I thought, I really should go and give of myself. So I went. I picked up some of the people that were coming. I paid for a few of them. I gave what I had. I multiplied the income that I have and gave some of it to them by buying their ticket to the movie. I gave my gas and I multiplied it, and I went and picked up these kids. I went and gave, of course, most of all my time, and I gave that to them. Even though I would have rather have stayed home and watched the Polar Express or whatever, last night. That would have been great. Or just hang out and be with my wife and have some hot chocolate. That would have been great. But I have realized that true love, when you love yourself, the way to love yourself is when you multiply what you have. When you do 1 + 1 + 1, 3 + 3 + 3, 5 + 5 + 5. The people who die or who lose at life are the ones who have one of something and they keep it to themselves. They don't step out. They don't give to other people. So you want to learn how to love yourself? I gave you 5 tips. I'll review them here really quick. Number 1 is know that everyone has worth. Everyone has worth. Number 2 is jealousy kills and destroys your life. Number 3 is to accept your level of value or of fame. Number 4 is true success comes when you make more of what you have. And then lastly is that failure is when you hide what you have. And so my question to you is, what are you hiding? What are you hiding from other people? And maybe ask God, Lord, help me to not hide anymore. I'm tired of hiding. Yes, I may have many reasons why I'm no longer doing this or helping in that way, or I no longer talk to that person. Maybe I'm just sick and tired of it, or maybe I'm physically not well. Maybe it's time to say to God, Lord, forgive me. Help me to give. Help me to not hide what you've given me. Help me to give to others what you've given to me, and help me never to hide and bury what you've given me, because when we do that, that's when truly our lives become just empty. God's desire is that all of us live with joy, with gozo, as we call it here. There's my gozo bell. There's my gozo cup back there. That all of us, that you and I live with gozo. Gozo in the morning, gozo in the evening. Not a fake joy, but a gozo that comes from giving yourself to other people, multiplying, knowing that you are valuable, knowing that you have worth, knowing that God has given every one of us something unique and special to give to the world. With that said, thank you guys. Make sure that you leave me a comment. Say thank you, say hola, say buenos dias, say how are you, say thank you, Trig. Whatever you can do, help me out with this video to get it out there to more people by just typing in the comments below a word or two. That, as I said before, the only way that the Facebook algorithm works is if you type a comment. If you're just here and you're just kind of watching for 3 seconds, it doesn't do any good. You have to actually type a comment below so that the Facebook algorithm gets this video out in front of people and they actually even see the fact that I'm live. So thanks again, everybody, and I will see you next time. Adios.